the top 100 players in the NFL today. Welcome, football fans. In this video, I react to Pete Prisco's top 100 players in the NFL. This is CBS's official 2025 top 100 NFL players. If that sounds good, Gronk, spike the like button. And if we get 100 likes on this video, I will release my top 100 players in the NFL. I haven't made that list in at least one full offseason. So if you want to see who I would rank from number 100 to number 1, then like the video, man, and let me know in the comments, do you agree or do you disagree with Pete Prisco? He releases this list every single year on CBS, and I typically don't agree. So let's check out the list, and let's see if Pete is correct. Is he perfect? Or is he wrong? Let's get to it, guys. Let's get to it. Subscribe, jabroni. Okay. Pete Prisco's NFL top 100 players of 2025. Saquon Barkley cracks the top 5. 5 other running backs make the top 50. Wow, okay. 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. Okay, let's get to it. I like the graphic. It's become trendy to say Patrick Mahomes isn't the same guy he was a few years ago. That's absurd, he says. No, it's not. Patrick Mahomes is objectively not the same guy that he was. I can already sense that this list is not going to line up with mine. Remember, 100 likes for my list. Patrick Mahomes will not be number 1 on my list. Spoiler alert. I don't know how you can even argue that he's number 1, but let's see what he says. His numbers the past 2 seasons might not have been as gaudy as they were in some other seasons, but Mahomes is still the best player in the NFL, which is why he was number 1 in my annual ranking of the league's top 100 players. Quibble with his numbers all you want, he would still be the first player picked in any open draft. Mahomes isn't the only quarterback in my top 10. There are 4. The others are Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow in that order. They are the elite of the NFL and clearly a group ahead of the rest. I do agree with that statement. They are clearly the elite quarterbacks in the NFL and, in my opinion, clearly a level above the rest. I would agree with that as well. The rest of the top 10 is made up of 2 edge rushers, 1 running back, and 2 receivers. For the first time in a long time, there isn't an offensive lineman, but a few were close. In putting together this list, which started as a top 50 way back in the early 2000s, one thing is clear. There isn't a lot of star power in the league right now. Interesting. I don't know if I agree with that. What we have is a big group of really good players ranked from 20 to 60. That was the toughest part in doing these rankings. A lot of those players are grouped together, so slotting them was tough. Okay. Dive in and take a look and get as angry and as nasty as you want. Guys, get as angry and nasty as you want in the comments. Let's go. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. I already disagree. This list sucks. It's terrible. Okay, first of all, we've gone through this in so many videos that honestly, you guys ask me, Mitch, why aren't the Chiefs in your overrated teams video? Guys, I'm sick of talking about how overrated the Chiefs are and how overrated Patrick Mahomes is. He's led the NFL in yak 3 out of the last 4 years. He throws the ball behind the line of scrimmage constantly. He's not making the same amount of plays. He's not making the same amount of tight window throws. He's not the same player. Eye test or stats. Period. You can blame his offensive line. You can blame his receivers, which I think is bogus because all those players except for Rashee Rice were there in the end. They were there in the playoffs. He still has Andy Reid. Still. Okay? Patrick Mahomes, to me, since Travis Kelce has left his prime and Tyreek Hill, and that's only been for like a year and a half, and Tyreek Hill left, he has not been the same quarterback. He began his career on fire because he had a top 2 tight end of all time, and he had a top 10 receiver of all time, or a top 10 most dangerous player of all time, period. Let's be fair. He also has Andy Reid. Look at his stats recently. He wasn't even top 5 in yards, touchdowns, rating, completion percentage, yards per attempt. Not even top 5 in any single stat. And we're going to rank him first. What? This has been a defensive-driven team for the past 2 seasons. Let's not act. How can we even pretend that Patrick Mahomes has been better than Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? We can't. There is nothing to prove it. Number 2 is Myles Garrett, which I also don't agree with. Myles Garrett's great, and he's arguably the best defensive player in the NFL, but I would not rank him number 2 based on last year entering this year. He was not the second best player in the NFL last year. He didn't win the Defensive Player of the Year, so I don't really know why I would rank him number 2 entering next season. He's great, though. I can't really deny that he doesn't belong in the top 5 or 6. He had 14 sacks to finish second in the league, but his impact was much more obvious than the numbers. He's an elite game record as he turns 30 years old. I think a majority of people would have Myles Garrett as the best defensive player in football, but I think there are a lot of other players that can be considered in that position. Like, let's just be fair. Like, TJ Watt has been there consistently. Chris Jones has been in that conversation, who's on Patrick Mahomes' team, by the way, guys. Dexter Lawrence is up there for me. I think that based on last year, Trey Hendrickson was a more productive pass rusher. At times, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, these guys have been in the conversation. Pat Surtain last season. So Myles Garrett, I can see why he's up there, but number 2, I'm not like a huge fan of that. Now, based on last season, it's hard to argue that Saquon Barkley is not a top 3 player in the NFL. Saquon rushed for 2,005 yards, and he was a constant must-watch player. He was arguably the star player of last season. Like, the guy that everybody wanted to witness, right? He led the Eagles to the Super Bowl victory, whether he had a great Super Bowl or not. And he could have won the MVP. Very much so. So Saquon, back on the radar as an elite running back. Number 3 is fair. Number 4 is Josh Allen, which I can accept, although I think I would have Josh Allen in my top 3, and I might even have him as my number 1 quarterback. Allen won his first MVP last season for a reason. He carried the Bills to the AFC title game again, growing as a passer and a player. I'm not exactly sure if he grew all that much, to be honest. I think he's been at this level for a while. I think that the offensive infrastructure was stronger around him. I think last year he had a better running game than he's ever had. I think last year he had a more productive, easy throws, like RPOs and quick screens that made him a little bit less fragile to turnovers. But Allen has been one of, if not the best quarterback in the league, like in the conversation since 2020. So, I mean, how much can he really get better? Maybe he's getting a little bit smarter in certain areas, but I mean, the same thing can be said about Lamar, who we'll get to at 6. Lamar at 6 feels low. I'm not going to lie, just because like him and Josh were considered the MVP quarterbacks, or like the guys that were going for the MVP. And to have the MVP at 4 feels like only Josh Allen would be put at 4 after winning the MVP. For some reason, Josh Allen is the most like hated player in the NFL. It's so weird to me. Like, people don't like to admit that Josh Allen is truly as good as he is. Lamar is almost the opposite in some ways, but at the same time, he gets a lot of hate. Lamar is weird because there's a lot of people that love him and a lot of people that hate him. Well, I feel like Allen is that one guy that like people are They like him, I guess, but they don't like accept him for like, how many times would an MVP not be ranked first or second on a list like this? Like, let's be honest. Only Josh Allen, okay? Number 5 is Justin Jefferson. Jefferson continues to make a strong case as the best receiver in the league. He had 103 catches with 10 touchdowns last season, but he had 28 catches of 20 yards or more to lead the league. I would not have Justin Jefferson as my number 1 receiver, but I can respect it. I would not have him at number 5, but I would have him in my top 10. Okay? I would have a different receiver ahead of him. Lamar Jackson, Lamar continues to put up big numbers, and he has improved in all facets of the game. He just has to be able to do more in the playoffs. That's fair. He was number 16 for him last year, which is insane because he won the MVP last year. Like, I remember reacting to that. That's crazy. Crazy, bro. Okay? He is the best dual threat quarterback in the game. Joe Burrow at 7. Burrow stayed healthy last year and put up MVP-type numbers, 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns, but a bad defense kept the Bengals out of the playoffs with the receivers both paid and back. Look for another big year. I would agree with that. Burrow could win the MVP this year. It could be his year to do that. Definitely. If they make the playoffs and he puts up similar numbers, I could see it. I think Burrow around 7 is the most accurate ranking probably so far on the list. Number 8, I would have Chase ahead of him, though. I would have Chase ahead of Joe Burrow. I thought Chase was the best Bengal last season. You guys let me know in the comments what you think about that. But I felt like Jamar Chase was the best Bengal. I think Jamar Chase was a top 3, top 4, top 5 player in the NFL last year. Without debate. He won the Triple Crown. How often does a Triple Crown receiver not land in the top 5 and you have another receiver ahead of him? That's kind of disrespectful. Why does Chase not rank ahead of Justin Jefferson here? That's my question. Number 9, Pat Surtain. I can understand that. He was Defensive Player of the Year. Emerged as a top cover corner. His ability to lock down receivers helped the Denver defense in a big way. Micah Parsons at 10 feels a little too high. I think Parsons is in the 20 to 11 range, but not quite the top 10. I think there's other edge rushers I'd take ahead of him. I'd actually probably take like 3 or 4 other edge rushers ahead of him on this list. I think Parsons right now is being a tad overrated. Extremely explosive athlete and good pass rusher. But I don't know. To me, he just didn't impact the game last year the same way that I felt like some others did. And I don't think he's as complete as some of the other guys. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys let me know on that one. But I think he's a little overrated. Yeah. 11 through 20. Aiden Hutchinson being the leading man there. TJ Watt at 11. See, I'd have Watt ahead of Parsons. The one thing about Watt is he didn't have his best sack season last year, but he did have the most forced fumbles in football. He still led the NFL in forced fumbles. Okay. Number 12, Lane Johnson. You could make an argument that Lane Johnson's a top 10 player in the NFL, and I wouldn't hate that. I think you could also make an argument for another 1 or 2 tackles in that conversation. Jordan Mailata up there, so back-to-back. I like that he actually had Lane Johnson ahead of Jordan Mailata. A lot of people seem to have it in the inverse or the flip or the reverse. But to me, I feel like Lane Johnson has been just more consistent. He's the clear best right tackle in football. He's a future Hall of Famer. Like, he's so critical to their success. So I would have Lane Johnson ahead of Mailata. It's crazy that Mailata was not even ranked last year. I think I remember going off about that last season. And Lane Johnson was 52, which is also kind of insane. Number 14, Derrick Henry, who was 91 last year. Okay. Derrick Henry, I can buy that. I don't know if I would put him that high, though. I don't even know if Derrick Henry would be my number 2 running back. He would be in the top. That's tough, man. I feel like he would be in the top 3 running backs for sure. I'm not 100% sure if he would be my number 2 running back. But I can accept that. Number 15, Aiden Hutchinson, feels very high for a guy that only played about half the season, but he could have won Defensive Player of the Year, which I understand. He had 7.5 sacks before the injury. Obviously, without him, they were not the same team on defense. Number 16, Creed Humphrey being that high is pretty wild. A center being at 16 is pretty insane. But at least there's some respect. This guy clearly loves the Chiefs. Chris Jones being at 18 feels really low. Like, he still was, if you look at the analytics and if you look at PFF, just pull up premium stats, he's first in pressures. He's still across the board the best defensive tackle in the NFL, whether or not he had the sacks or not. Okay? He had a career low 5 sacks is what he's saying here, but he still impacted the game in a big way. I think Chris Jones is a top 10, top 12 player in the NFL still entering 2025. And it's crazy that he has Jalen Carter ahead of him. Carter could be better next year if you're trying to project it forward because of the age of Chris Jones. But based on the last 3 or 4 years, Chris Jones has been the best D tackle in the NFL every single season since basically Aaron Donald left his prime or his peak. Chris Jones has been the guy next, right? Like, Chris Jones is one of the best D tackles of all time. Jalen Carter's on the rise. He's getting there. But it's not like last year he set the NFL on fire. So he was very good, but it wasn't really until the peak of the playoffs where he really dominated. Number 19, Fred Warner. I think that's a good ranking. I think he's top 20. Tristan Wirfs should be a bit higher in my opinion. I think he's better than Jordan Mailata, for example, but I can accept that he's in the top 20. Fred Warner would probably be top 15 for me, personally. Wirfs, one of the best left tackles in the game. Fred Warner is the best run and chase linebacker, a key part of the Niners' success. Okay, I can respect this list so far. It's not terrible. I think so far there's been a couple bad rankings. Guys, let me know what's your least favorite ranking so far on the list. I feel like Hutchinson being this high is a bit surprising, or like you kind of forget about him a little bit. I think Mahomes being number 1 is honestly the worst ranking so far. Number 21, we've got Penei Sewell. Okay, I like that ranking too. I can't really debate that one. I think Penei Sewell is one of the best tackles in the league. He's arguably the best right tackle in the league. It's him or Lane Johnson, right? So I think that's fair. I would put Sewell ahead of Mailata as well, I think. I think that those would be my top 4. Lane Johnson, Tristan Wirfs. Not in that order, but Lane Johnson, Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell, and Lane Johnson, and then probably Mailata would be my 5th guy. Brock Bowers at 22 feels high. I don't think Brock Bowers deserves to be ahead of Kittle quite yet. Kittle was still the more explosive option, and Kittle is still the far better blocker. Bowers got a lot of underneath targets. So I know his stats were incredible, but still like a lot of like just if Kittle was the guy in the Raiders offense, he'd probably put up 100 catches too. Like I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the Raiders had nowhere to go with the ball, to be honest with you. Bowers led all tight ends in catches last year as a rookie with 112. It's an incredible season, but I feel like I just need a little bit more time with it. You know what I mean? Like Bowers, he's definitely deserving of being in the top 30, top 40, but like the best tight end in the league, I feel like that's a little bit too much. Number 23, Derek Stingley, who has emerged as one of the best cover players in the league. Okay, I think that he's the second best corner in football, but there are edge rushers that I feel like maybe ahead of him on the defensive side that I haven't seen yet. I think there's maybe another defensive tackle that should be ahead of him, but I feel like Stingley is definitely top 30, 35 range. Maybe a little bit too high for me, but I can understand that. Sauce Gardner feels way too high after last season. Like a lot of people were critical of him. A lot of people were making fun of him. He definitely had a down year last year, but he was still good. Like a lot of people, I think, went a little too far with that shenanigans, but I think 24 is definitely too high, ahead of like some of these names that we're going to get to. Number 25, George Kittle should be higher. Like I said, I think George Kittle is still the best tight end in football. 78 catches, 8 touchdowns last year. Didn't really bring the stats up, but I'm pretty sure he still had more yards per game than Brock Bowers, if I'm not mistaken. And when you think about the Niners, I mean, last year, like, they still have good receivers, but Kittle had to pick up the slack last season. Number 26, Trey Hendrickson, constantly underrated, constantly like a guy that just doesn't get enough love or respect. This guy led the NFL in sacks last year with 17 and a half. And he's been putting up around that number for the last like 3 or 4 years. So he definitely deserves to be in this range, if not even higher. CeeDee Lamb, I totally agree, should be in this range. Has now had 100 plus receptions in 3 straight seasons. Like that's a guy that's definitely top 30. Max Crosby didn't have his best year last year as a sack artist, but he missed 5 games, only 7.5 sacks. He's a defensive player of the year candidate when healthy. I agree with all that. I think 28 is a good ranking for Crosby based on the down year that he had last year. But I think a lot of people, like the year before he was number 11. That's very understandable. Like I think he's a top 20 player probably when healthy. Dexter Lawrence I think should be higher. Missed time with injury, but he's a force in the NFL. He could play the run as well as anybody, but he also pushes the pocket. Like, I just think he's one of the most unique weapons in the NFL defensively, where he's a guy that nobody like him plays at defensive tackle, or nose tackle, I should say, where he just dominates as both a pass rusher and a run defender in a way that nobody else does. That gives you points, in my opinion. Number 30, I think Tyreek Hill is too high. As good as he was, the last 2 seasons, 2023, 2022, dominating the NFL as probably the best receiver in football, Tyreek Hill dropped off last year. He was not the same player on a per game basis, per play basis. Overall, like, Not the same player. I think 30 is too high. I think that he is slowing down a bit. He is falling into the trap of off the field shenanigans. I would probably still, out of respect, put him in my top 50, but I can't probably put him this high. I think there's other receivers I'd have over him entering next season, like A.J. Brown, who's at number 31. In 13 games, he had 67 catches for 1,069 yards, 16.1 yards per catch. Imagine if he was in a pass-heavy offense is the thing, right? The Eagles were the least pass-heavy offense in football, number 32 in pass attempts. Number 30, but it feels like A.J. Brown, in every big game or big moment that the Eagles actually need him, he does step up, and he just feels like a guy that is never truly ever shut down. Number 32, Jahmyr Gibbs. This is the guy I was alluding to when I was talking about Henry being the number 2 running back, because I feel like Gibbs could be the number 2 running back. Like, I think that his pass catching, his route running, his dynamic nature, his explosiveness, all those things I value so much. Like, I think he has a more well-rounded game, and he's just as dynamic and explosive as Derrick Henry, even if Henry has maybe more productive, like, missed tackles forced and overall numbers and things like that. Jaden Daniels at 33, as his 5th best quarterback, I think the gap is wide enough where that's a respectable ranking. Even if I don't know if I have Jaden Daniels as my 5th quarterback in the NFL, I can understand it. I can get the ranking, and I respect it. He says that Daniels showcased as a rookie that he has star potential and should be a top-level quarterback for a long time. It's scary to think how good he could be once he learns how to really play the position. Number 34, Trent Williams. Respectable ranking, I would say. Not the same player he was in the previous 3 years, but still a dominant left tackle force in the NFL. Nick Bosa, I honestly think Nick Bosa got disrespected last year. I feel like Nick Bosa was the only, him and Fred Warner really, were like the only consistent defensive players on the Niners. And Nick Bosa was a part of a really poorly coordinated, poorly defensive line driven defense. I think Nick Bosa played a lot better than like just the stats would say. Just by watching the Niners, he had 9 sacks in 14 games, but he still showed off his ability to win on the edge, totaling a lot of pressures. He didn't get a lot of help. There you go. Which is why they had a major overhaul. I would have Nick Bosa inside the top 30. I think he's better than Trent at this point, in my opinion. Okay. Kyle Hamilton, number 36. Kyle Hamilton, if you have him as the best safety in football, which this list does, he probably should also be higher on this list. He probably should, okay? I think he is the best safety in football, probably, okay? I think overall well-rounded playmaking, intelligence, tackling, all that sort of stuff, versatility. I think he's top 30 in the NFL. I think that's fair to say. Number 37, Cam Hayward dominated last year. You do have to consider his age. And 2023, he didn't play very well. So in 2024, he actually didn't even rank on this list, which I also called out. I remember that as well. I remember being disgusted by that Cam Hayward wasn't on the list, even if he had a bad year. But yeah, Cam Hayward had an awesome bounce back season. He's a great human being. I think he deserves to be top 50. I'm not sure if I'd put him this high, though. Number 38, Rashawn Slater, I think is a little overrated. Number 39, Bijan. He's definitely a top 4 or 5 running back, so I can respect that. Number 40, Zach Bond, feels like a breakout season for him. He was undeniably fantastic last year. I loved watching him play. I noticed from week 1 how good he was. Like, against the Packers, he played phenomenal in that game. And I remember being like, whoa, this is a real factor in their defense now. And I was impressed by him in coverage. Even the way he played in the playoffs was fantastic. And yeah, like he's a good blitzer. He's a good run defender. I think like it's hard because he's only really had one great year. So how high do you put him, I guess, is the question. 41 through 50. McCaffrey being at 41 is respectable. I mean, he obviously could bounce back to top 20, 25, 10, top 5 levels. I mean, that's very possible, right? He missed the first 8 games of 2024 with an Achilles issue, then had a knee injury that ended the season. I don't know where I would place McCaffrey, so I honestly can't even really talk about it. That's one of the hardest rankings on the list. There's no doubt about it. Last year, he was number 8, which I remember I was mad about. He should have been top 5 for sure. He was like the offensive player of the year. How do you not have the offensive player of the year in the top 5? Trey McBride. That is a cool ranking. I like Trey McBride. I think he's clearly the 3rd best tight end in the NFL. If you got Kittle and Bowers at number 1 and number 2, McBride's clearly number 3. He had 111 catches last year. A lot of people don't realize that. Definitely top 50. Chris Lindstrom, best guard in football. Definitely deserves to be around this range, if not higher. Brian Thomas Jr., 44. I love that ranking. I don't think I'd have Brian Thomas higher than some of the receivers that are below him on this list. And I'm sure that the lower rankings are going to be more controversial for me. I can already kind of feel it, that there's some players that I've forgotten about, because I'm doing this all off the top of my head and kind of like understanding what he's doing here. But once we get lower on the list, I'm probably going to lose it a little bit. Brian Thomas feels like a guy that I'd have in my top, like the lower end of my list, because he had a breakout rookie season, but 44 feels too high. Malik Neighbors, I actually like that Brian Thomas is ahead of Malik Neighbors. And if you're fully like projecting the list moving forward, I can understand why you would see these guys as top 10 receivers in the NFL. I totally respect that. At the same time, though, there's guys that have done it for multiple years, or there's guys that were very good last year and have done it for multiple years. And I can already like think of like 3 or 4 receivers off the top of my head that should probably be ahead of these guys just based on consistency and overall production and even last year's ability, right? So those are guys that I would have like in the like 50 through 100 phase, but not quite in that top 50. Trent McDuffie, I understand that at 46. I get it. He might not rank quite that high for me, but I totally understand that. He's got great versatility. He's arguably the most versatile corner in football, and that brings a lot of value. Like, he can blitz, he can tackle, he can man, he can zone, he can play inside, outside. So yeah, he's probably top 50. Danielle Hunter, totally top 50 player. He just, every single year, he has 12 plus sacks. Every single year, doesn't matter what team he's on, he dominates. Like, he's a beast. Number 48, Quinnen Williams. Maybe a little too high. I thought he didn't have a great year last year. He was number 29 in 2023. So that feels like a good move back on the list, but I honestly think he's still a little too high. But I love Quinnen Williams. The problem with the Jets is they just don't have a lot around him, or like a lot of even reason for him to like annihilate teams, because they don't, like, they're so bad. Number 49, Justin Herbert. For some people, that might be too low. For some people, that might be too high. That's just the way that Justin Herbert is ranked in the NFL. So I guess that he is quarterback 6 based on this list, I believe. So he was number 41 last year. I think he played better last season than the year before. Did he not? He led the NFL in interception percentage last season. I know that. He also, like, analytically speaking, had some good numbers. Like, his big time throws were inside the top 5. His turnover worthy plays were pretty low. Like, Justin Herbert, definitely top 7, top 8 quarterback in the NFL, probably a top 50 player in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor feels way too high. In just 13 starts, he finished 4th in the league in rushing, averaged 4.7 yards per rush, his best since 2021. I'm pretty sure he had a great back half of the season, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't recall Jonathan Taylor dominating last year. Maybe I just completely left that off my radar because the Colts were completely irrelevant. But I would not have him this high. Absolutely not. I'd probably have him like in my top 100, but not in my top 50. Number 51, I like the shout for Quinn Miners. I will say that. He is, all-pro 2024. He's a good run blocker, good pass blocker. He is probably, like I've said it many times, probably like the most underrated player in the entire league. Like, people don't even know who this guy is. He's also not a center. He's a guard. It says he's a center on the list. Number 52, Jalen Hurts. So that would make him number 7 quarterback. That's an acceptable ranking. I think that there's a couple guys that I would put ahead of him, but I understand it. I'm not mad at it. I think some Eagles fans would be mad at it, but 52 feels fair. It could be a bit lower for me, honestly. Like, so Eagles fans wouldn't like my list. Tyler Linderbaum at 53 feels too high, but he is a good player. I don't even know if he's a top 100 player, honestly. Like, he's a really good player, but he might be like 101 through 200. He's really good. I guess he's given center a lot of love here. Jared Verse, as an edge rusher, honestly, a good ranking at 54. He was a dominant rookie. Number 55, Joe Thuney would be higher for me, for sure. Jared Verse might be higher too, but Joe Thuney would definitely be ahead of Tyler Linderbaum. I'll tell you that much. Joe Thuney would also be probably higher than Quinn Miners, but that's an interesting discussion. Will Anderson would be a lot higher on my list. I think Will Anderson is an absolute stud. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are the best edge duo in football, as he says in this article. but both are top 50 players in the NFL, without a doubt. Will Anderson's one of the most well-rounded players at his position. Baker Mayfield, I respect the Baker Mayfield ranking at 57 after not ranking him last year, okay, after his breakout Bucs season. I respect that. Okay, a number 8 quarterback, I understand that. I think I'd have him around that range as well, maybe even the exact same number. Number 58, Amon-Ra. So this is one of the guys that I think people would say, like, okay, are you going to put Brian Thomas ahead of Amon-Ra already? Like, okay, like, in my opinion, I prefer the type of receiver that Neighbors and Thomas is over St. Brown. St. Brown's strictly a slot player. But based on the production and the annual production and consistency, like, it's hard to put those guys already ahead of this player. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the guys that I could see people talking about. Christian Darrisaw at 59. He is awesome. Maybe a little too high, but he's an awesome player. Probably a top 5 left tackle in football, top 6. Kirby Joseph, too high. I know he had a great season last year. He led the NFL in picks, and he was an all-pro. I'm not sure if he's like kind of like a one-hit wonder. I'm not gonna lie. Lions fans might hate that I said that, but I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't rank him that high. He would probably make my top 100 though. I'd have McKinney ahead of him because McKinney's already proven that he's been a good player and he's ascended to an elite player. And McKinney's actually still very young. I think he's like 25, 26. So McKinney had 8 picks, and yeah, he's really instinctive, and he can do so many different things at a high level. I'd have him higher on my list. Christian Gonzalez, I think he could be the best corner in football very soon. I respect 62, although there's a debate he's better than Sauce right now. There's a debate there, and Sauce was where? Like in the top 30? So that feels like an inaccurate range of ranking. I would have Gonzalez ahead of Kirby Joseph for sure. Puka Nacua would be in my top 50. I think Puka would be ahead of Neighbors and Thomas as well. He was yards per route run, the best receiver in football. Yards per route run. He was right there with Jamar Chase in terms of production. Number 64, Leonard Williams. In his first full season with Seattle, Williams had 11 sacks, the most since 2020. Leonard Williams last season was like a top 40, top 30 player in the entire league. Based on his age and moving forward, I can understand why he's around 65, but I think putting him in the top 50 would make the most sense based on he was like a defensive player of the year candidate, low key. 11 sacks, and like all he did, like I think he had an interception, bunch of forced fumbles. Brian Branch, I think, is a better football player than Kirby Joseph. I understand that Kirby Joseph had more interceptions, but I think Brian Branch is more instinctive, quicker, faster to the football, better man-to-man cover guy, does more for the defense. Like, he is a spark plug. Like, I would have him in my... I think this range is fine, but I think he's just a better player than Kirby Joseph. 66, Josh Jacobs. Maybe a little too high, but he's definitely top 100. He had an awesome season last year. He was the engine of their offense in Green Bay. 67, Nico Collins would be higher on my list. Nico Collins, to me, is a top 5 receiver, top 6 receiver in the NFL. I think there's nothing he can't do. He's fast, he's big. He beats man, he beats zone. He's really the only guy that they could throw to at some points, right? So 67, Nico Collins, I think he's a top 50 player. 68, Marlon Humphrey. Based on last year, I think he arguably was a top 50 player. But he's a little bit of an up and down type guy. Great versatility, great physicality, good playmaker. He's definitely top 100. Quinyon Mitchell at 69, Gronk's favorite number. If you haven't already, Gronk spiked the like button. Remember, 100 likes for my top 100. Quinyon, that's interesting. I'm not sure if I'd have him already there, but based on a projection, I probably would, because I think that it's not long before he's a top 5 corner in the NFL. And he might already be on my top 10. For sure. T. Higgins, 70. Okay. Again, like just off the top of my head, feels kind of high, but I don't know. He's definitely top 100. He had 72 catches in 12 games with 10 touchdowns. He had a great season last year. T. Higgins is probably, the weird thing about Higgins is he's a number 1 receiver on most other teams. He has like elite traits. Like some of the elite traits, like his body control and his adjustments and his like hands, those are like top 3 in the NFL. Like his ability to contort his body and catch the ball with his hands. like elite stuff. Jalen Johnson, I don't know about that. I don't know if he's top 100, but he is top 10 corner in the NFL. Maybe top 7. So it's a debatable one. It's a debatable. 71 feels a little high. 72 Landon Dickerson, don't agree with that. I think he's a little bit overrated because he plays for the Eagles, but I understand why he's on the list. He's not better than Jesse Bates. I'm like, Landon Dickerson isn't better at football than Jesse Bates. I mean, Jesse Bates is arguably the best pure free safety in the NFL. Like, he's not better than Jesse Bates. I'm sorry. Garrett Bowles is good, but I don't think I'd have him in my top 100. I'm sorry. Trey Smith is definitely top 100. Just got paid like he is. He'd be ahead of Garrett Bowles. Garrett Bowles feels like who was a good offensive line last year. Let's put him on the list. That's kind of what it felt like to me. Number 76, Josh Hines-Allen. Definitely around the 75 through 100 range. But there are edge rushers I feel like may or may not be better than him that have not been listed yet. I don't know. I'd have to check the list, to be honest. At the bottom of this list, when he posts the guys that aren't on the list, that's when I'm going to lose my mind. Because I know I'm forgetting about people, guys. So just wait till that happens. Number 77, Jared Goff. Based on last year, I can respect why he's in the top 100. I think he was a top 10 quarterback last season. So I get that at 77. Number 78, Jeffrey Simmons is definitely top 100. So yeah, he's the best player on the Tennessee Titans. He's dominant against the run, dominant as a power pass rusher. Jair would not be top 100 based on last season or the last couple of years. Based on his talent, I can understand why he is there, but he's just been injured way too much. Quentin Nelson would probably be higher on this list. Like, he is better at football than Garrett Bowles. Number 81, Terry McLaurin. Yes, I get that. Mike Evans, constantly disrespected. Like, Mike Evans is better than, hold on a minute. I would have Mike Evans, who are these receivers that are ahead of Mike Evans? Mike Evans is, to have, these guys, T. Higgins above Mike Evans? I don't know, man. Mike Evans should be higher, man. Mike Evans last year was still phenomenal. If you watch the Bucs play, Terry McLaurin, I agree with. He's top 100. Zach Tom, flirting with the top 100. I don't hate that. Devin Witherspoon, yes, top 100. Cooper DeJean, that's interesting. Probably, honestly, top 100. I don't know if I'd have him as high as 85, but he was awesome as a rookie. It's kind of hard to deny that. Sam Laporta would not be on my list. I did not think he played very well last year. Only 60 catches last season. Roquan Smith would definitely be on my list. Maybe higher, but he didn't have his best season last year. Bobby Wagner, bro, guy just keeps getting overrated every single season of his career. Number 89 is Antoine Winfield. I think he's a top 100 player, but he did not have a good year last year, and he was injured a lot. Number 90, Dak would not be on my list at all. Dak is not belonging on the list. Number 91, Devontae Adams. I can understand that, but I don't know. I think 91's a good ranking. Number 92, there's no chance in hell Jordan Love would be on my list. Number 93, Ladd McConkey. I get it. He would be close for me. I'm not sure if he would be in or out. Bucky Irving would probably not make my list just because he's a running back. I'm going to be fair, but he was awesome. Man, I was watching some of his highlights. He's so shifty. He's so fun to watch, the way he eludes defenders. Derwin James would be in my top 50. That's one that I'm like, what? Derwin James is probably a top 2 safety in the NFL. Him and Kyle Hamilton are the best safeties in the league. Number 96, Travis Kelce. No chance he'd be on my list. Actually, he might be on my list. I'm just kidding. Taylor Swift might rank higher. Number 97, Deion Dawkins would be on my list. Good ranking. I like Tyler Smith too. Deion Dawkins, good. I like that he got some respect. Number 99, Jalen Ramsey had a really good year when he played last year. He's still top 100. Christian Benford at number 100. Good shout for him. But let's see who the guys that weren't on the list. Is there a list of the guys that weren't on the list? There's no list of okay, because last year I felt like there was. Is there no list of guys that weren't on the list? There's just a bunch of ads, bro. Oh, man. Come on, you guys. Okay, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to do my own here. Okay? We're going to do my own. So let's just go position by position and talk about it. I'm just going to pull up PFF's grades. So that's the top 100 for Pete Prisco. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below, whether you agreed or disagree. So at quarterback, Brock Purdy was not on the list. I can understand that. CJ Stroud was not on the list. I can also understand that. Matthew Stafford was once again not on this list. Pete Prisco absolutely despises Matthew Stafford. Last year, he wasn't on the list. This year, he's not on the list. Matthew Stafford is top 100 in the NFL. If Dak Prescott is top 100, then Matthew Stafford is top 100. I'm sorry. If Dak Prescott is number 90 on your list and Matthew Stafford is not on your list, you're a jabroni. You're an idiot. And then you have Jordan Love on your list and no Matthew Stafford? What? Which quarterback in the playoffs, not your number one Patrick Mahomes? Matthew Stafford ripped the Eagles up, buddy. Not Patrick Mahomes, your number one. Pete Prisco, you jabroni. Why do you hate Matthew Stafford? Bro, what did he do to you? This is 2 years in a row. Okay, another player that should be on this list or could be on this list is Drake London at wide receiver. He would debatably be on my list. Okay, he graded number 7 for PFF. Chris Godwin got hurt, but he was on his way to being on this list, I think. Otherwise, Garrett Wilson could have an honorable mention for the list. I think for the most part, he got the wide receiver position fairly accurate. DJ Moore is another one. Running back, he did not include guys like James Cook, who had a really good last year, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, James Conner. Those guys also had really good seasons last year, but I can understand why they're not on the list. Tight end. Okay, Mark Andrews didn't make it, which I understand. TJ Hawkinson didn't make it. Dallas Goedert didn't make it. Okay. Then at center, he included some centers. Ragnow retired. All right. I can understand why there's only a couple centers on the list. Linderbaum and Humphrey, I think, were the only ones. He listed Miners as a center, but he's not. Guard. Who would be on the list that's not at guard? I actually think he got all the ones that deserve to be on the list. So I think good job there. Tackle position, he might have missed a couple. Tron Armstead retired. Charles Cross was really good last year. Colton Miller's always pretty good. Those guys always deserve a mention. Laramie Tunzel, I can understand why they're not there. Okay, so good job with the offensive line. Cornerback-wise, shout out to Garrett Williams, but I understand why he's not on the list. I think he should have had certain guys higher, but I think he got mostly the right players on the list at corner. I don't think I see any that I would put. Maybe AJ Terrell is a consideration. Safety. Julian Love would probably be on my list. That's a guy that I would mention. CJ Gardner-Johnson had a really good year last year, but I understand why he's not on the list. Linebackers. Edgerrin Cooper's on the rise, but I can understand why he's not on the list. Jack Campbell's on the rise. Who else? Linebackers. Demario Davis wasn't on the list, I don't think. Interior defenders. Calais had a really good year last year, but yeah, he's not top 100. Buckner would probably be on my list. Buckner's always left off this list. Buckner is constantly disrespected. Can anyone give DeForest Buckner some love, bro? McNeil from the Lions is really good, but he got hurt. Vita Vea, maybe. Ed Oliver, maybe. Matabike, possibly. There's quite a few guys that you would... Zach Allen, for sure. Zach Allen is not on this list. Zach Allen, for sure, bro, would be on my list. Edge rushers, Khalil Mack, maybe. TJ Watt was on the list. Boza was on the list. Verse was on the list. Parsons was on the list. Hendrickson was on the list. Anderson was on the list. Hunter was on the list. Hines Allen was on the list. Benito maybe would be on my list. Maybe, but that's a maybe. I think he got those right. Shout out to Van Ginkel. But I think I went through every position, so I think he did a pretty good job. There are some egregious ones, though. Zach Allen's pretty egregious not being on the list. Let's be fair. Matthew Stafford not being on the freaking list again, bro. What did Matthew Stafford do to you? Guys, guess what Matthew Stafford did to Pete Prisco in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. But that is Pete Prisco's top 100 players in the NFL of 2025. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next BLV video. Peace.